Um,
Where where is
so I'm sitting in for the chair, Teresa Elamine. She can't be here tonight. I'll do my best to um, run the meeting in the spirit she might. She is attending to Columbus local election issues. There's something that began at 6:30 to 8. Um, of the elections that are important happening in Columbus are city council and school board. And those are interests very dear to Teresa and her work. So she um, gave me the permission to try to do my best tonight. And I'm going to share an agenda with you. We'll start with check ins. Check in your name and your branch and any other one thing you'd like to add that isn't a report on your efforts around reparations. So we'll start with you, Kathy, and then Robin, and then myself. Go ahead, Kathy. Your name, your branch, and any
Uh,
other thing you'd like to add.
uh, I might not know what group this is. Is this
This is the
the women?
UN Decade for People of African Descent and Reparations Working Group of the Advancing Human Rights Committee of WILF
Oh,
US.
I guess I'm not in a branch at all. I'm in
Oh,
Greenbelt, um, but I got this email somewhere. How so I don't know
you're
what
in
I belong.
Greenbelt, Maryland?
Uh-huh.
You could be part of the DMV branch. Um,
Oh,
I have your email address because you registered, and I will send you the organizer information for the DMV branch, and you can join.
okay. And did you know Greenbelt has been working on reparations?
No, but you can give a report later after we've done our check in, and we'll hear
Mhm.
about what Greenbelt's doing. That's great. I used to live
I,
in Baltimore and really, really like the area.
okay, I'm not on the committee for the reparations, but I can contact somebody and
Okay. And
do
you
that
can
next.
tell us more about it in a few minutes. But that's
Okay.
Are
awesome to
you
know that you will be a new member in the DMV. Robin, your branch and
I,
one thing you want to share?
I want to ask Kathy, are you a WILF member?
No, not yet.
Uh, I guess I haven't paid my dues.
Oh,
Uh,
no, but you know about WILF.
oh
You're
yeah, yes.
oh, okay.
I've come to some of those, and then I
Mhm.
branched off to some other uh, war resistors, Quaker stuff. I'm a UU
Aha.
Unitarian.
The consistent
Yeah.
you use. You can count on
Yeah.
them. All right, Robin, you go.
Okay, so I'm Robin Lloyd, Burlington, Vermont, and also associated with the Quakers in Burlington, and was just responding to the panel we're going to do at the triennial at the end of May. And I want to do a report on Haiti, which is facing sanctions, even though it basically has no government right now.
Mm,
And Haiti needs to be talked about more. No one's talking about it.
okay. All right. Well, thanks. And we'll hear more later. I'm George Friday. I'm in Shelby, North Carolina, part of the Southern Piedmont branch. I'm program chair on the board and um, attend many committee meetings, especially the AHR committee meetings because they're vital.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, George.
just what I'm supposed to be doing. So let's look at our agenda. Um, we're going to do our reports about what is happening at our branches or in our cities or states around reparations and any upcoming activities. I'll talk a little bit about the No to NATO tour, and then we'll have the shortest meeting ever. Okay, so as far as the Fannie Lou Hamer branch in Columbus, they are working on having a reparation ordinance or bill in place by 2028. There's a reparations strategic plan that the branch has or is working on, and that's the expectation. So, Kathy, tell us about Greenbelt's reparations plans, and then you can go, Robin, and I can share what I know about North Carolina. So, talk to us,
Well,
Kathy.
I know Conrad Hurling has been attending those meetings. I'm a friend of his. Um, but we started, I think, 2 years ago with the Greenbelt Council, the city council, uh, starting commissioning this committee. And so they've been talking, maybe it's a year and a half, but all I know is that they're still working together. And I know somebody that I can reach out to and find out an update. So
Great.
that's okay.
Thanks. And as I said earlier, I'll make sure when I send out our recording and chat from today's meeting, Kathy, that I send you the link to renew your membership so that you're up to date, um, and the name and contact information for the DMV organizer because they meet regularly and they're great, fantastic group in the DC area. All right.
Okay. All right.
Um,
I'll do what I can.
that's awesome. So, Robin, what's happening with regard to reparations in your part of the world?
Well, we have a state-funded Vermont Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and it's actually started its work. It has three staff, believe it or not, and so they're going to document how Vermont state laws and policies have discriminated against marginalized communities, and we'll see where that leads. I mean, it's often people of color and people of French Canadian heritage. We have many French speaking people up here or have had in the past, and they have been discriminated against in various ways. So that's the main thing that's happening here.
All right, thanks. I will share what I know about North Carolina and the Southern Piedmont area. There are two cities, Durham, North Carolina, and Asheville, North Carolina, that have passed language around reparations. Um, Asheville devoted around $6 million. Most of that is supposed to go for development, like business development and housing. And I don't know the latest on how that's gone. And Durham devoted about almost 3 million, and I don't know the purpose of that 3 million and that, what's the word, that pot of money, as it were. In the Charlotte area, 2 or 3 years ago, it was more like 3 years ago because it was um, still COVID era in many ways. Um, a initiative called Reimagining America began in Charlotte. Excuse me. And the Reimagining America project, for for the most part, the focus of the Reimagining America in Charlotte was to um, look at the inequities in the Charlotte school system, judicial system, housing. They looked at it system wide with schools, community, housing, and um, law enforcement. And this was Reimagining America project was launched because of what happened with George Floyd back in 2020. And they held, over a course of about 18 months, they held a number of pub- public forums or hearings on a subject like policing and housing, economics. And when they did a summary of all those things, um, and they were very telling, Some of this, not all of the sessions were recorded, but there was one session, and this is not something I experienced directly, but a member of our branch, Samantha Turner, who has family issues and can't be as active these days, reported that there were judges that revealed during these hearings that they absolutely practiced biased sentencing. You know, Samantha described it as a confession more than anything else, that they absolutely made decisions about how they would sentence Black and brown people ahead of time. And it was just disruptive. So at the end of this process, this 18-month process, they then began to speak about what reparations might look like for Charlotte and Mecklenburg County. And that those conversations started maybe last summer. They've had two meetings around that. And um, one of the ways that our branch can help is to give them examples of some of they haven't looked at um, Evanston, Illinois, who has a very rigorous reparations plan that's in place, that's working. They're identifying people, they're identifying how financially or other ways they might resource the people they've identified who are direct descendants of people that were um, racially harmed. And giving them those examples. And the last time I communicated with Samantha about this, she was sharing with the information about Evanston, Asheville to some extent, although Asheville's model that they're using isn't as proactive as the one in Evanston. But at least things are moving. And our goal, or the goal of this working group of advancing human rights, is to have reparations policy, resolution, ordinances, language that have been voted on by the local town or by your state that speaks to reparations and supports reparations in that town, city, or state by the end of this year, because the UN decade for people of African descent ends in December. So it's important that we all, if we can, get started on getting these reparations policies in place. Yes, Robin.
So do you know whether in Evanston they have actually identified the people who
Yes.
deserve the reparations?
Yes, ma'am. You can go to the website, which I've been to in the past, and they there are can't think of the right word for it. You know, there are questions that they ask to determine who are the people that we need to be in touch with. And those characteristics or questions or priorities or requirements are on that website. Just search
Okay.
on reparations Evanston, Illinois, and they have their whole, a whole website, all these different parts of it that they talk about. Um, just like you described that there's a staff of so many people working on stuff up there. Well, in Evanston, they do have a number of people devoted to it. In Asheville, North Carolina, they have like a body of community people and elected people who are working on the details of their plan. And the Reimagining America project, which is doing work in North Carolina, well, in Charlotte anyway, not Durham or Asheville, but it's mostly led by ministers and other people of faith. There aren't community people involved except a few, like Samantha. She's a community person. Um, and so far, only the past mayor of Charlotte is part of Reimagining America, but no other people who are in elected office. And some of the retired judges that confess that they absolutely did biased sentencing. So that's what's up there.
Wow,
Um,
that's
yeah, well, if it gets out, I have never seen that recording, and it hasn't been on it made any news programs, so it's hard to change culture without sharing the information. So, one of the things on the agenda that Teresa helped me put together is upcoming activities. And a significant upcoming activity that will start on May 29th is the UN Decade Reparations No to NATO Midwest Tour. So Teresa will, y'all might remember last year, Teresa did a No to NATO solidarity tour of the Northeast, which was awesome. Um, and this time it'll be the Midwest, Cleveland, Detroit, um, East Lansing or Lansing, Ypsilanti, and Chicago. That will start on the 29th, but we'll have a meeting. This group will have a meeting before then, and Teresa will be able to tell you more details about that because I just know when. I don't have the kind of details she will have. The
But
last thing,
George,
yes, go ahead, Robin.
that date is right at the time of the triennial. No,
Um,
the
that's when it
29th.
ends. I gave you the wrong date. She will be
Oh,
gone starting on the 20th of May and
oh, okay.
done by the 29th. So
Oh,
she's
good.
done by the
Okay.
time the triangle starts. I'm so glad you've helped me discover that I had it wrong, Robin. Teresa
And
would
she'll
not
be
be
able to
okay.
report on her tour at the triennial.
Yes, it's very likely that she could give a report on the triennial of her visit and her meetings during the triennial. I
Good.
know that among the goals is restarting the Cleveland branch and strengthening the Chicago branch because Teresa knows people everywhere and lots of people, and she can recruit those people to be Wolf members and fighters for peace and justice, as she
Great.
does. Okay. So one thing I want to mention that's on the agenda, actually the last thing on the agenda, will totally be finished in half an hour or less, is that next year, 2025, we will have our international triennial. And you may recall, although I didn't pull it up tonight, we'll probably look at it together in the next meeting. But you may recall that at the last triennial, a resolution was passed for the UN decade of people of African descent. And that resolution was submitted by the Black Liberation Caucus of Wolf US. And the US section, not just the UN decade or advancing human rights, but Wolf US will be expected to report on that resolution. What have you done between the 2022 resolution and 2025 triennial to forward the goals of the UN decade? Um, and this group, the UN Decade Reparations AHR working group, will be significant in that report. So wanted to share that. And the next meeting of this body will be May 16th at 6:30. And I hope all of
Okay.
the two of you and anyone else who registered but didn't attend will be there. Teresa will be able to give more details about the Midwest tour, and we will be getting our sights set for the U.S. Congress. Okay, then, anything you want to say before we go?
Yes, you as chair of program, you might be, perhaps you could tell me how to get U.S. WILF to endorse a resolution for our Congress in May.
A resolution coming from your branch?
Yes.
Okay, the folks to first look at that or to send them to are the planning committee and the staff for the Congress. That is Dee Murphy,
Uh-huh.
Tina Sheldon, Nancy Price. If you email
Okay.
the three of them or email Dee and copy Tina and Nancy, one of the three of them will get back to you
Uh-huh.
about the process. It is
This is
something that I know they've discussed. I do not know if they've landed on a process yet. So that's why I
mhm.
recommend you email them.
Yeah. I'm trying to resurrect the resolution that was um, not considered at the in 2015 at the international 100th anniversary to establish a parliamentary department of the United Nations that we need
Oh,
to really have global democracy. One way would be to have an additional um, uh, or an additional department in the United Nations that would be democratic, that would be the people would be elected from different countries, elected by the people, and would be represented in the parliament at the United Nations. This would be better than just the General Assembly, which are all appointed by heads of state and dictators and so on and so forth. Anyway, that's the proposal. So I will resurrect that and get it to Dee and Tina and Nancy.
well, I recommend that your initial email be what is the process because they may not be able to be, they may not be the ones who are, shepherding a resolution through whatever that process is. But I'm sure
Okay.
there's a process. I just don't know what it is, but they will
Well,
know.
it has to go through national, and then next year it will go through to international, but it would be endowed by and
Right.
accepted, we hope, by national. So
Yeah,
that's my
I understand that. All right. You
I
good,
did.
Kathy? Any parting words from you, Kathy?
No, I'm hooked up with a number of organizations I work with, so I'm going to do my best to come. Um, uh,
May
and
16th,
I
6:30.
will let some other people know that are involved in Greenbelt reparations.
Thanks so much. All
Yeah,
right.
thank you. All
Take
right.
One,
care. Yes, ma'am,
one more
Robin.
question. One more question. Do do you, Kathy, receive the quarterly newsletter, or maybe it's twice a year newsletter from WILF US called Peace and Freedom?
Uh, I don't know, but I receive emails from them.
Uh-huh. Well,
Um,
I'm just bringing it up because the issue I'm concerned about, I've written an article in the latest one, which has a beautiful cover of Korean flags on the cover of, you've probably seen it.
yes, I have. It came
Yeah,
fairly recently, it feels. Maybe last
yeah,
month. Yeah.
yeah. And so my article, it talks about the effort within the within WILF to endorse a world government.
Wow.
So
Oh,
check it out.
okay. I'm going to look for it now.
All right, y'all. Take care. I'll see
Okay.
you in the next meeting.
All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.